All right, Steeler fans, time for the winners and losers segment. You know the drill by now. We break it down winners and losers. In this case, we have only 3 winners and 11 losers after the Steelers' 35-25 loss to the Green Bay Packers. Let's get this started on the winner side. Chris Boswell, he's the first winner. 4 for 4 field goals made. Now, 4 for 4, you're like, okay, well, what were the yardages? He made 2 kicks from 56. He made a 50. And then he had to make a 48-yarder after Cam Hayward jumped off sides on a 43-yard field goal to make it a 48-yarder. But I also wanted to give a shout-out to Chris Boswell for how good he is on kickoffs. He has the touch to be able to kick the ball to the 2-yard line, to the 1-yard line, and it's amazing. And he kicks it so that the ball, if he lands in the landing zone and then goes in the end zone, it's a touchback to the 20. He is phenomenal. He is really good at kicking footballs, we'll put it that way. And so my first winner, in this case, that's Chris Boswell. The next winner is Roman Wilson. He finishes the game with 4 catches on 5 targets, 74 yards, an 18.5 average, and a touchdown with a 45-yard long. Look, I know a lot of people are going to bash it and say, like, Roman Wilson might be a good wide receiver 3, whatever. Good for him. Good for him for having a game. This guy's been through a lot. A lot of the fan base has kind of said, yeah, he's done. He's washed, whatever. He has a good game. He leads the Steelers in receiving. He gets his first career touchdown. It was good to see Roman Wilson not only just have that game, but also for Aaron Rodgers to trust Roman Wilson enough in certain situations. It was a good game for Roman Wilson. And the last winner, none other than Jaylen Warren. He finishes with 13 carries, 62 yards, a 4.8-yard average. He didn't score a touchdown. He had a 17-yard long, also throwing 2 catches on 3 targets, 11 yards, 5.5-yard average, no touchdowns on 11-yard long. Jaylen Warren is and has been like the offense for the Steelers and the main consistent piece of the puzzle outside of the quarterback. He has proven to me, I don't know if he's proven it to you, the listener or viewer, he's proven that he is capable of being that RB1 player for the Steelers. Really great game. I really like what Jaylen Warren's done this year. He's a winner. So those 3, that's your winners list. Let's go to the losers. I'm going to start off with tackling. The Steelers had, especially in the first quarter, so many missed tackles. So many just bad angles, bad technique, bad form. Darius Slay just looks like sometimes he just, I don't know. He's making business decisions when it's not even going to be a really physical play. Shove the guy out of bounds. I don't know what's going on. The Steelers' tackling was bad. And yes, it did improve a little bit after the start, but it still wasn't good. The next loser is the pass defense. Let's look at Jordan Love's numbers, shall we? Jordan Love he had 29 completions on 37 attempts, 360 yards, a 9.7-yard average, 3 touchdowns, a 134.2 rating. Oh, and in case you didn't know, he had a stretch of 20 straight completions. That's right. 20 times in a row, he dropped back, threw the football forward to a Green Bay Packer pass catcher. 20 straight times. That's remarkable. Absolutely remarkable for him, but it's also unbelievably horrible for the Pittsburgh Steelers secondary. They just can't seem to do anything right. Nothing that they try seems to work. It just seems like these teams that have even remotely a prolific offense, they know exactly what to do and where to go with the football, and that's a pretty damning statement. All right, let's go to the next loser. Anyone covering Tucker Kraft. Kraft finishes 7 catches, 143 yards, 20.4-yard average, 2 touchdowns, a 59-yard long, 9 targets. So Mike Tomlin kind of said, well, I talked about him on Tuesday and how he's a good run after the catch guy and all this stuff. Kraft he's a good football player. He's becoming a more well-known football player. But at the same time, Kraft is a guy that the Steelers they've had the tight end bugaboo in their team history. We all remember the Rob Gronkowskis and stuff like that. But man, here we go again. The Steelers just had no answer. For the second straight week, there was a player who was just thrashing them, and they couldn't do anything to stop it. They tried safeties covering him. They tried corners covering him. It didn't matter. And even when those fluky plays start happening, that's when you know it's bad. And that's exactly what was happening. So Kraft goes for 143 and 2 touchdowns. All right, let's go to the next loser, the pass rush. Yes, the vaunted Steelers pass rush. The Steelers defense that thrives on the big splash plays, sacks, tackles for losses, interceptions, forced fumbles. They didn't get any of it. I mean, any of it. The Steelers finished this game 0 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. And if you want to know the number for tackles for losses, it is 1. Darius Slay gets notched for 1 tackle for loss. That is it. This team did not have a takeaway for the 3rd straight game. That well has gone dry. This is what you see, and this is what happens when they don't get the timely takeaways. The pass rush isn't getting home. TJ Watt, for his sake, I hope he's hurt. I know he popped up on the injury report with a hip injury. I hope he's hurt, because if he's not, he looked slow. He didn't look like he had his full allotment of pass rushing moves. And it was to the point where the Packers at one point said, we're not going to even have to chip him. He's not making an impact. He's not beating our tackle. Think about that. Think about that. All right, let's go to the next loser, pass protection. Flipping the script here. The Steelers had some pass protection issues. They gave up 3 sacks on 5 quarterback hits. They had gone 2 weeks without surrendering a sack. And a lot of it came from this Micah Parsons pressure where they, on 3rd down especially, would put him right behind the nose tackle. And they kind of gave him the freedom to rush how he saw fit based on what the offensive line was going to do. And they would adjust the defensive line accordingly. You see that, and you're obviously Steeler fans thinking, why don't they do that with TJ Watt? Why don't they put Nick Herbig out there in that role? Why don't they do any of this stuff? That's neither here nor there. The Steelers couldn't adjust enough to Micah Parsons and how he was rushing the quarterback. And it equated in some bad pressures. Aaron Rodgers having to try to elude the pass rush, but he didn't have any exit lanes. They were sacks, 3 sacks. I think the tally was for quarterback hits, 5 quarterback hits. Just not a good day for the offensive line. They've been trending. They've been doing such a good job. Definitely a step backwards, in my opinion. Let's go to the next loser. 3rd down offense. You want to know the percentage? Now, before we get to the current percentage, the Steelers came into this game with the 8th best 3rd down conversion offense, converting 43.3% of their 3rd down conversions. That's not bad. A top 10 unit. That's going to go down because this game, the stat line is they went 1 for 10. That's right. They went 1 for 10. They converted 1 3rd down opportunity. You are not going to win football games in the National Football League when you convert 1 time on 3rd down out of 10 chances. That is borderline pathetic. Next loser are the injuries. More key injuries popping up. I said this at the top of the podcast. Isaac Seumalo with his pec injury. It's a strain, but he could be out for weeks. We'll find out more on Tuesday. Deshaun Elliott with a knee injury. Daniel Ekuale with a significant knee injury. His season's probably over. Just tough. It's really tough. This is after already losing some players like Miles Killebrew. The Steelers are being stretched thin. We'll put it that way. And with the trade deadline coming up, we'll see what they decide to do in that regard. Let's go to the next loser, the second half. This is just the second half. I'm not talking about adjustments or anything like that. At the halftime, the Steelers went into the halftime leading by 9, 16-7. Steeler fans are like, okay, get the ball back. Here we go. They start this 3rd quarter with the ball. They were outscored. The Steelers were outscored 28-9 in the second half. 28-9. Just completely outmanned. It was just from top to bottom. From top to bottom, from the secondary to the line, they could do nothing. They could make no stops. It just seemed like everything was a Herculean task. Making a tackle seemed difficult. That's the kind of night it was. The next loser is team discipline. The Steelers, in terms of penalties, they were penalized, I believe, I'm going to look this up quickly, 6 times for a total of, 6 times for 65 yards. And Mike Tomlin said this is the second straight game they've been highly penalized. That's clearly a new trend. Two's a trend is what they say. But it's not just that. This team was undisciplined by how they handled themselves in those scuffles and those scrums. And I don't know if they were trying to draw flags or whatever, but it wasn't working. It wasn't working, wasn't coming close to working. And so the Steelers, they now have this feel and this vibe about themselves that they are an undisciplined football team. And I said this on Twitter during the game, and I'll say it here as well. Undisciplined teams don't win in the NFL. They don't win because you can't be highly penalized and win. You can't be getting personal foul calls and win. You can't try and, goad someone into something and win the game. The Steelers are undisciplined, and that's a recipe for disaster. All right, we have 2 left. The next, it's simple. The loser is that they are a very fragile team. This team, I said this earlier, and I'll say it again. They thrive on defensively getting the splash, the sacks, the tackle for losses, forcing the penalties like a holding call or something like that. Any of those, any type of turnover, takeaway. They thrive on that. On offense, you have a group that really just needs to stay on schedule. Stay on schedule. We'll get 2 or 3 yards on first down. We'll get 3 yards on second down, and we'll set up third manageable. But what happens when something goes wrong? So on the defensive side of the football, what happens when, what we're seeing happen? When the takeaways dry up, what happens? The answer to that is that they get exploited. When they're not getting the sacks, when they're not getting the interceptions, the forced fumbles, like the 5 they had, or the 5 takeaways they had in New England in week 3. When they're not getting those, this is when you have a situation where they get exposed. And people now see, wow, this team is just kind of meh when they don't get those big splash plays. On offense, they're so fragile that a false start, an illegal shift, an illegal formation, whatever the case is, even a 5-yard penalty, a procedural penalty, can be enough to derail a drive. It's unbelievable. This team is so fragile that they can't take anything going against them based on the fact that they're just that team that cannot go outside that realm of, I guess you call it comfortability. But the defense, it's bad. It's not getting any better anytime soon, probably. The offense, if they can stay on schedule and avoid those negative plays, will be okay. But ultimately, you just see this is a very fragile football team. And then the last loser is adjustments after last week. We talked about this on the post-game show. Dave Schofield said it best. He said, I chalked up last week, Thursday night, traveling, short week, tough, difficult to do. Odds are not in your favor. A lot of teams lose in that setting. But they'll have a little mini bye week. Then they'll be back. They have extra time to plan. That's when we'll see the adjustments. What are they going to do different? The answer is they didn't do anything different. And I'm talking about the defense. The offense, I think the offense is pretty good for what they have on the roster. But the defense, they didn't do anything different. They didn't do anything different. They tried the same stuff, same players, same personnel, same blitzes. TJ Watt always on the same side. It's just if you expected adjustments, if you expected after last week they were going to do anything different or change, I thought maybe there was a chance. Shoot, they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. And I guess these coaches see something that we, the fans, don't. And they look at this and say, I think they'll be okay. I think we're going to be just fine if we just do X, like the BS that Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin were trying to sell us last week. Well, it's because we couldn't stop the run. That's why Jamar Chase got targeted 23 times. Well, what are you going to say in this game? He's pretty much stopped the run. But Jordan Love completes 20 straight passes? Well, what's the excuse then? There were no adjustments. None. And that's why that's the 11th loser. The final loser right there is that from last week to this week, it's the same song and dance. We've all seen this story play out a million times. All right, so that's it. That does it for me. It's been a depressing. We're in the wee hours of the morning. It's a depressing podcast. I hope you all have a great start to your week. Don't forget, tomorrow, Tuesday, the mailbag segment will still be happening. I'll put out the tweet. You respond. I will answer the question on Wednesday. But that does it for me. You know how we finish out these podcasts. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great start to your week. We'll see you on Wednesday. Go Steelers.